Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Community League. As we enter the second half of Season 3, we are here at the Nürburgring, a venue which we haven't visited in quite a while, at least the GP circuit. And we are currently watching Dominik Lala go around the track in qualifying. He's the defending champion and he's hunted by this man in another Porsche. We have a lot of Porsches here today. But yeah, I'm not alone as usual. I'm joined by Tim Ireland here in the booth today.
Hi, Lino. How are you today?
I'd say quite okay. I mean, we've got some exciting... I know that this might not be the most popular track for everyone. You have some weird noises going on. But I personally really like this track. It's been a track I've grown up with quite a lot. It's also the only racetrack I've been to so far. But anyway, great racetrack for me. And yeah, as said, we enter the second half of the season, so it will be quite interesting. And I'm sorry for the noise in the background, just some technical issues on the end of Tim Ireland. So for once, it's not me. I know that my equipment does have some issues here and there as well. But as said, we are in qualifying, and we are currently watching Dennis Hines, the current championship leader, putting in the first lap time. It's a 36.9 in the first sector, 48.3 in the second one, which is already quite decent. But I think we have two favorites here and a few dark horses, which maybe can mix up some stuff in the results. We've seen it last week in the RENNSPORT Founders League that a certain Jordan, Pascal Jordan to be exact, had quite a good pace. Lacked in consistency a bit, but let's see how it will behave in the GT3s compared to the GT4s. And Dennis Hines puts in a 155.588 in the first lap time. Dominik Ladler only 1/10 behind. Let's take a look at what Pascal Jordan does. First sector, he had a big miss. Second sector seems to be more in his favor. And already some notices in the chat that this might not be the most favorite track for Dennis Hines. But the results so far in the championship look pretty good for Sir Dennis Hines as Pascal Jordan drifts through the first turn. The gold Porsche ahead of him, that should be Pierre Colbeck. Can take a look at where he is in the standings actually. Meanwhile, collisions in this qualifying session are disabled, so people will not have issues this time getting a lap in. Pierre Colbeck sitting 9th in the standings on 154 points. As far as I can see, has Pascal Jordan not finished an RCL event yet. But Dennis Hines and Dominik Ladler. Dennis Hines on 445 points, Dominik Ladler on 374. So it is quite the margin, but it should be able to close in, depending on how good the second one of the season is for Dominik Ladler. Second lap though, not quite on the level of the first one. But of course, Dennis Hines with the track run he has at the moment in RCL Season 3 3 victories out of 3 races. Kind of speaks for itself. Fabian Guglio currently in 3rd. One of the few BMW drivers we have here today. Also new to the RENNSPORT Community League. Of course, a bit unfortunate that the likes of Joachim Thunder are not here today. Even though, in the chat, of course. Always here to support, which is highly appreciated. Well, we still have 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Does Dennis Heinz improve on this lap? Seem like it. Dominic Ladler, though, 2/10 slower than his personal best, unfortunately. Pascal Jordan will be next across the line. First and second sector looking good to claim 3rd position on the grid. And even a purple sector 3, and that puts him onto 3rd spot on the grid. A little bit on damage on the Porsche in front of Ali Mustafosky. This could be Remo Fedele, and indeed it is. So everybody has set a lap time. That's already a good thing, good sign. Dennis Heinz already very consistent as well. If we take a look at the sector times, they have stayed pretty much the same since lap 1. And in a 45-minute race, of course, consistency is what you want, what you need. And he will be able to complete 1 more lap. It is no improvement to his lap time though, so the first lap being the fastest. And that was it for qualifying. So you have Dennis Heinz in front of Dominic Ladler, and then the 2 BMWs of Pascal Jordan and Fabian Guglio. 5th and 6th also very close together with Ali Mustafosky and Remo Fedele, separated by 2/10. But who will get the jump on the start? Both have been very strong on the rolling start, Dennis Heinz and Dominic Ladler. Pascal Jordan, of course, last week, running away with the lead in the opening stages of the race on the Nordschleife, while Dominic Ladler was busy fighting with Adrian Lunio. But we are waiting for the drivers to get ready. It is indeed quite the interesting grid. Lots of new names. I said Nana, Falatuk, Fedele, Mustafosky, Nunu, Julio, and Jordan are all new to the RENNSPORT Community League. As we resume with the live footage and the safety car. Might also be quite infuriating to see this big BMW grille in your rearview mirror. However, I don't think that neither Heinz nor Lala are scared by that. As everybody gets in line for the start, and we go green here at the Nürburgring for round 4 for episode 4 of season 3. Dennis Heinz with a great getaway from Dominic Ladler, who's trying to slipstream past. Oh, and the rear end there for the BMW, and Dominic Ladler being caught out by it. That might have been Pascal Jordan being caught out there by one of the Porsches, causing a bit of a chain reaction. But what it definitely led to is Dennis Heinz leading this race, as Dominic Ladler fell down to 5th. Can see damage on one Porsche up ahead. Take a look at who it is. Might be Mark Falatic. Dominic Ladler now, of course, trying to move up the grid as fast as possible. And indeed, it was Pascal Jordan who was pitched round there. Into the hairpin we go, and both entering very fast. Dominic Ladler somehow managing to keep the car on the higher side. And indeed, the front doesn't look too aerodynamic, as they go side by side through the Schumacher S. Piccinunu already made up some spaces. Fabian Gulli dropping way down the order. But this is only the first lap of what will be round about 25. But it's Dennis Heinz from Pascal Jordan from Dominic Ladler. And Gulli trying to find a way past Nunu, but on side by side on the straight, and Gulli pushing him off the track. And I don't want to be that guy, but I think that was very deserved there. As Nunu now dives down the inside of Mustafosky and gets caught out by himself. So a bit of chaos going down the back end of the grid. Doesn't bother this man though. Dennis Heinz up front, leading. But yeah, of course, this is quite big for the championship. Let's keep an eye on the gap between Dominic Ladler and Pascal Jordan. Dominic Ladler can keep up. If the damage is a bit too big. Definitely seems to be too severe to keep up with Dennis Heinz. Meanwhile, Pierre Kolbeck managed to get up to 7th place. Oh, Remo Fedele too hot into the Vedol chicane. And indeed, Dominic Ladler now 2 seconds back from Pascal Jordan. As now Falatic is trying to find his way past Remo Fedele to the inside. Braking a bit later. Does outbrake himself slightly. Fedele not quite able to do the up and under. And that was a beautifully executed move by Falatic. Even though he now goes, oh, way too wide. He tried braking on the curbing. And what happens in that case is, your ABS is kicking in very harshly. You're on that curb, which is very slippy because it has pretty steep inclines. And again, too hard on the throttle. I think that will put a stop mark for now on his race. But what happens if you brake on the curbing with one side of the tires only, like that? That the brake pretty much always gets released on that side because you lose grip permanently. The ABS does what it should do. It prevents the tires from locking. But in that case, they would lock so often that it has to completely shut off the braking. Essentially. It's not what it wants to do, but it is what it's forced to do by the way it's programmed. Of course, that's the tricky thing with ABS. Why some people excel in cars without that. Baharamasa also with some battle scars on the car, on the front left and rear right quarter panel. Lead of Dennis Heinz already 4.2 seconds to Pascal Jordan. But he's really making a name for himself at the moment. If he can keep his nose clean this time, might be in for a very good result. Of course, third place last time at the Nordschleife was a pretty good one. But I think if he hadn't had that mistake at Amberg, could have fought for the win. Of course, Adrian Lunio and Dominic Lala put on some mighty pace, but he did as well. I mean, he put a gap of, I think it was around about 6 to 7 seconds onto them in the first lap. I wonder, with Joachim Thonner not being here, we will take a look at the championship standings later, of course, as Ali Mustafosky, I think, is in the pits repairing his car. Indeed, he is. Of course, you can do the pit stop early, like he does now. But how many people are actually capable to claim victory in the championship? Of course, Dennis Heinz and Dominic Lala are well within the championship hunt. Joachim Thunder and Adrian Lunio might be with a lot of luck on their side. They are sitting on 344 and 340 points respectively. They will lose about 120 points, I think. I'd estimate, to either Heinz or Ladler. So it will be very tight. So I think, unless a miracle happens, we have these two drivers fighting it out for the championship in the end. Which kinda also means that the season champion will likely drive a Porsche once more. Meanwhile, let's try again with Tim Island. Tim, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You sound a bit unfamiliar, but I do hear you.
I'm using an entirely different microphone.
That might be where the reason.
Yeah, my microphone died. Sorry about that.
Well, as long as it didn't receive incident points for it.
Hey,
I'm a bit confused to why Mark Felatic's timing isn't working at the moment. Sure, we'll figure that out later in the race. But the first 10 minutes have passed in this race.
Judging by Mark Flatic's car, I don't think I've missed some action at the beginning of the race.
You definitely have. There was quite some stuff going on. Pierre Colbeck also must have had quite the incident, as now Felatic comes into the pits as well, but Pierre Colbeck must have had an off as well, judging by that front of the car. I think the only two drivers really getting through unscarfed are Dennis Heinz and Pascal Jordan. Everybody else being involved in at least some form of incident.
Just classic Nordschleife turn 1 things.
And it isn't even the Nordschleife tunnel.
Well, oh, yeah, fair enough. Nürburgring.
Dominic Ladler now getting closer to Pascal Jordan though, so maybe either Jordan did a mistake or Dominic Ladler is getting used to the damage he has to his car. Will of course also be interesting to know if Dominic Ladler decides to repair the damage. Ali Mustafowski might get Mark Felatic out of the pits. There he is. Not quite. Also Felatic's car, well, fresh as new.
Swap to a showroom factory fresh one in the pits, I think. They've
Maybe
done
he
a good
stole
job
it from
fixing
the
it up.
showroom. I think
Felatic does have a drive-through penalty to serve, though.
So, guess somebody was a bit fast in the pit lane.
Pascal Jordan setting a purple sector 2, trying to hunt down Dennis Heinz.
Dominic Ladler, gap is now 1 second between the two of them. So he's gained about half a second this lap.
Which is pretty impressive considering the state of Ladler's car right now.
Definitely is. He's not giving up easily. I mean, we don't know anything else about Dominic Ladler in that way. Can't really recall a instance where he gave up on Mustafowski sending it down the inside of the Vedol chicane. Bit of contact there between the two cars, but let's say a very bold move there. Pierre Colbeck being lapped by Dennis Heinz.
It took me a while to figure out what looked different about Pierre Colbeck's Porsche then, and then I realised it just doesn't have a front bumper.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of perfectly cut off.
top 3 setting very similar lap times right now, though. So I don't think Pascal Jordan and Dominic Ladler are going to be closing up on Dennis Heinz unless they start working together.
It's very hard to really work together on the Nürburgring. Of course, you have the front stretch and the back stretch with the kink in it to try to bump draft a little bit, but it doesn't really help you. Of course, on a track like Spa, you have way longer straights to work together with.
But I don't know if they're fighting for position much, but they're definitely slowed down a little bit in the last lap.
I mean, of course, all 3 cars had to get by the Porsche of Pierre Colbeck.
True.
Meanwhile, Mustafosky has gone past Mark Falatic. Of course, we've seen that on screen, but he also increased the gap to over a second. So let's see what they can achieve in this race, since both of them have been quite a bit, well, further up the order starting this race. I think Pichu Nuno also went to the pits this lap, but Pascal Jordan against Dominic Lala. The fight is now on. Dominic Lala really needs that position to stay in the championship hunt.
I think Pascal Jordan got holed up just a little bit more, overtaking Massa than Ladler did there, but he defended well into the Dunlop. It is the Dunlop. Is it the Dunlop
It is, yeah, they changed the name around so many times, but it will always be the Dunlop chicane. The Dunlop Quere. Just like the upcoming chicane will always be Vedol for me. It's, I know they had a different sponsor for some time and now it's Vedol again, but
it'll always be the wrong chicane to me.
Now guess the simulator where Tim Island originates from. I mean, for me it's the correct one, but I've also grown up with the DTM in the 2010s and late 2000s. So for me it was always the short chicane.
I have to remind myself constantly when I'm driving. It's not the normal chicane, it's the other chicane.
The good thing is if you're used to the short chicane originally, that you always brake early.
True.
Dominic Ladler now trying to find his way past. Meanwhile, Falatic seems to... Did he have a bit of contact there?
It got pretty close, but Ladler just couldn't hold it on the outside of the left-hander.
They might have contact if Ladler had the front right corner of his car.
Yeah, true. Jordan's doing a good job of defending, but it is stretching the lead out. The gap has opened up another 2 seconds to Dennis Heinz.
I mean, the question is, could they both catch up to Dennis Heinz anyway? For both of them, if they know that Dennis Heinz is just out of reach for them today, Dominic Ladler, of course, being hampered by the damage he has, they both have a very good reason to defend and go for that second place. Dominic Ladler, of course, to minimize the points he loses to Dennis Heinz in the championship. And Pascal Jordan for bragging rights, basically. Pretty big bragging rights, if you ask me.
Beating Dominic Ladler is always worth bragging about. I don't think Mark Falatic served his drive-through and has got a disqualification.
Could also well be the case. And indeed, car number 24 received black flag, or car number 5 in this case, received black flag due to ignoring penalty.
Yeah.
But Pascal Jordan so far, solid iron wall.
Yeah, we've talked quite a few times in past casts about Dominic Ladler being fairly decent at defending, and I think it's he's met his match here, or is equal in the defensive line stakes.
I mean, the thing with the Nürburgring as well is you have quite a lot of opportunities to overtake. You can overtake into turn 1 with some overshoot, you can overtake into the Dunlop-Kehre, you can even overtake into the Vidol chicane, as we've seen previously on the stream. If you get a good run, you can even overtake into Bildstein and the Hyundai curve, which we are just approaching on now. And Dominic Ladler will try it into Hyundai. Perhaps. Jordan leaves some space, but Ladler can't quite get the drive around the corner. And is now too close to slingshot as well into turn 1. I'm not sure if Jordan did that on purpose, but it was a very good move there. But you can also defend very well here. Because you always have a different line you can take, which is one of the reasons I really like this track. Gives you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, Ladler trying every trick he can think of right now, but he just can't quite make it past Pascal Jordan, who is doing a really good job of defending.
But you should also remember that the pit stops are bound to happen in the next few laps. So that will be interesting.
Jordan and Ladler are about even on fuel at the minute, so if Jordan stays out and pits as late as he can, I think Ladler's going to have to follow him in. So then it's all going to come down to who can stop in the box properly.
Yeah, and we've seen that being the difference quite some times now. I don't think that Jordan will do a pit stop blunder. He has done some very good strategies in the RFL he's entered.
Yeah, both of these guys know how to pit, so I'm not expecting anything particularly bad.
All 3 leading drivers staying out. Pierre Colbeck getting closer to Bahama Massa for P5 as well. Dominic Ladler now to the outside. Can Pascal Jordan defend on the inside? I think Ladler has the overshoot. Cuts him off.
Yep, not quite.
Trying to force his way through on the inside, but again, Pascal Jordan. That's great driving there by these two gentlemen.
It is. It's good, respectful manoeuvring around each other. I know Ladler's itching to get past, but he's got to be enjoying the racing.
Pascal Jordan probably laughing like there's no tomorrow. But now Ladler with the way better drive off the Dunlop-Kehre on the outside line for the Schumacher S, and that's very hard to pull off. Tried to get some speed out of the first turn, but again, Pascal Jordan with the better line. Oh, and big drift there for Ladler.
He just needs one good opportunity, overtake opportunity, but he needs to make it work, doesn't he?
It's very much so, but even if I don't think that he has the pace to run away from Pascal Jordan. I mean, they both seem to be quite similar in terms of driving style as well. They are not risk takers, I'd say, like Adrian Lunio is, for example. They are.
No, none of them are pushing hard, are they? They're driving fairly. You know, none of them are taking an undue risk.
Dominic Lala now on the inside line, which is the preferred line through the Mercedes arena. And I think he has the position. If he can get a good drive now out of the Mercedes arena, and Pascal Jordan seems to have the better drive, actually. And Pascal Jordan is coming back at Dominic Ladler.
See if
Side
you can
by
hang it
side.
around the outside. Oh, Ladler just manages to squeak through and shut the door.
Dominic Ladler up into P2, but with what a move, and how many laps has this taken to happen? Oh, but Lala now a bit wide. Pascal Jordan on the inside. I think they have been fighting for a solid 10 minutes at this stage.
Yeah, it's been pretty much since I finally managed to join the cast.
Dennis Heinz staying out for yet another lap. Pascal Jordan having a look down the inside individual, just showing himself. Trying to throw off Dominic Lala. Strategy that Lala himself used to do quite a lot. Meanwhile, Remo Fedele is in the pits. He will most likely come out in front of Bahamasa.
Just changing tyres, he's not fixing his car.
I mean, there's not much to repair on Fedele's car, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, I know he seems to have got but he didn't have a bumper when he was up on the jacks, but now he's got one back again.
Dominic Lawless seems to be able to just slightly, ever so slightly get away from Pascal John. But do you think they will have to pit this lap? Because I think they have to.
I think they'll be pushing it to get another 2 laps. Ooh, actually, Dominic Ladler are definitely going to have to pit this lap. He's just burning a little bit more fuel in that Porsche than the BMW is, so I still don't think Pascal Jordan could wait for another one. I think he'd be really pushing for that. I'm not sure exactly how much they're doing, how many litres per lap it's taking them right now, so I'm assuming they're both going to come in.
Let's see what Dennis Heinz does. He comes into the pits. Of course, also quite the tricky pit entry. You want to push it as far as possible, but you don't want to end in the wall. And here they both come into the pits as well. I mean, this pit stop will be quite crucial for them. Dominic Lalo was very fast on the pit entry, but was it too fast? Let's hope not.
I think he got his pit limiter and done in time. Dennis Heinz just refueling.
Oh, and Pascal Jordan in the background, he didn't stop in his pit box first. He's losing tons of time.
Ladler already moving and obviously not repaired, but he has gained a good few seconds there.
He also gained quite a bit on Dennis Heinz, as it seems, as the gap has come down to 10 seconds as to the 11.5 it was before. Fortunate for Pascal Jordan, but he's still in third.
Pascal Jordan lost a fairly big chunk of time in that pit stop. Now 9 seconds behind Dominic Ladler. Of course, pit stop's not just about stopping in your box in the right place. It's also about being as late as you can on the pit limiter and making sure you can get maximum amount of speed you can legally be allowed.
I mean, at least the top 3 still in the order they started this race on. Mustafowski already up into 5th once more.
Yeah, Massa and Kolbeck have both opted to change tyres today, and they both missed their pit box by about the same amount. So not really a difference between the fight going on there, but it's cost them a lot in pit time changing tyres.
Maybe it's time to think about minimum pit stop times. So you see them coming out of the pits in the background. Pierre Kolbeck hasn't repaired his car though, and I think Massa did.
Remo Fedele just coming into the pits. He has a 5-second penalty as well.
Oh, but he has big damage to this car, and he was just in the pits 2 laps ago. Let's see, where is Mustafowski? He's currently entering the door. He will probably take 4th place from Remo Fedele then.
Got another 40 seconds left stationary in the pits, so it's going to seem like an eternity for him. As Mustafowski goes streaking past the start-finish line.
I mean, we can have a look at the current standings where we're at it, and we see this man, Dennis Heinz, leading the table with 445 points. Dominic Lala has climbed back to 2nd place to minimize the points lost, but even that gap after this race will be close to 100 points with 2 races remaining. What do you think? What are the chances for Ladler?
It's a big ask, isn't it? I mean, I don't think he's gonna manage to get anything better than 2nd today. So that points gap's only going to increase. I think it's gonna take some beating to beat Heinz now. That was terrible English.
Just having a look, Pascal Jordan might actually, with this result, jump into the top 12. Depending on the points payout of this race. Of course, with 10 cars, but quite some good rated drivers. Could fit in between Genius and Reduce, who are both not here today. Pierre Kolbeck will make up some places. Zaya not here, Sheko not here. I think Bräuniger is a bit too far up the order. So it will be interesting for the second half of the season.
Ladler just dropping back a little bit from Dennis Hines now. He's not able to kind of keep up with the pace of Hines with the damage to his car, I don't think.
Do you know which one the next race is, where it will be in 2 weeks?
No. No, I don't.
What a preparation. Just kidding. Well, it is the track that this man, Mr. Dominic Ladler, has just won on last week in the GT3 car. Because it will be Road Atlanta. Which never really had a normal race, did it?
No, it's it always throws a wild card into any race series, I think, from what we've seen with our community races and leagues here.
I mean, it did kind of ruffle up Nico Nüninghoff in the Runners-Up Cup. It did cause for some interesting racing in the RENNSPORT Community League, where I'm not quite sure. I think it might have been Ladler had an interesting start, and in the end it was Mervyn Benauda taking victory. And of course, 1 week ago, Dominic Ladler winning in the Hypercar GT3 multi-class race.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a completely different car class, but Ladler has proven that he's pretty consistent around there, and he's able to keep it clean when people around him are kind of losing their heads a little. So he's got that going for him.
And I mean, the final race in 4 weeks' time, I think that will be closer to, or the closest you will get to a free-for-all, because it's a track that everybody knows. It's a track that many people really like. And I think where...
Snetterton.
You don't count your Bridget. But yeah, I think in speedrunning you would say the track is very optimized. Not quite sure if that is transferable into sim racing, but of course Spa-Francorchamps. What better way to end off the season? But that is still quite some time until we get there. We'll actually have 2 finales right after each other, because in 3 weeks we will also finish off the RENNSPORT Founders League at the Nordschleife.
Nice. Is it the next round of the Founders League, which is going to be in Pragas?
It very much is. Next Friday, 8 p.m. with the Praga, and I'm very excited to see them race there. It's a very different car to what we had so far. Of course, we've raced GT3, GT3X, GT4, front-wheel drive. They all were touring cars. Now we have something that is closer to an open wheeler in terms of how it drives. It's very unique, I'd say. Of course, the pace is similar to a GT3 overall, but
They generated it in very different ways.
yeah, very much indeed. Which is also why you probably will not see a Praga GT3 multi-class race in the near future. Takes a lot for these 2 cars to be able to run on the same track.
It would either be hilarious or really annoying, depending which one of the cars and which track.
Probably both at the same time. But yeah, the final 5 minutes have begun. Gap between Heinz and Lala, 14 seconds. Pascal Jordan has closed in on Dominic Lala quite a bit. But I don't think it will be enough to close in by the end of the race.
No, I don't know if it's Ladler's pace has dropped off a little bit or if he's just decided he doesn't have to risk it as much as he was doing before.
Well, maybe also the tires giving in a bit. We don't know the extent of the damage on the front left. Front right, pardon. But, I mean, if it takes a toll on your downforce on the front end of the car, you will always understeer a bit more, and that understeer will get worse and worse every turn you take.
Yeah, the heat will slowly build up in the tyres, and the hotter they are, the faster they wear, so it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle.
I've once had it, I think it was in a prototype car in Race Room quite some time ago. Quite a long time ago, actually. I picked up just a small amount of damage to my front right suspension. Not really noticeable while driving, and the tire wear also did barely increase. But, well, over a 1 hour stint, the final stint, at some point it got massively worse.
Oh.
And I didn't really pay attention until it was today, and then basically I tried to get it to the flag, and one final lap before the flag fell, I had a tire blowout.
Bet that felt great.
Was super. I mean, I didn't lose too much since I could pit and still had a good position in the end. Not quite sure what it was, but well within the top 10 in my class, so could have been worse, but I was like, could have at least finished without going to the pit stop again. And yeah, of course, over 45-minute duration, it's not as prone to happen as over 2 hour. But we've seen some tire struggles at the 2.4 hour races we had. And some
Yeah, for sure.
interesting tire gambles.
It's been really good watching those and seeing how people treat the tire strategy differently, with it still being fairly new, having to do races that kind of length in RENNSPORT. It's fun watching how people decide to handle that kind of length race.
I've talked about ABS earlier in this race when you were fixing your microphone. Because we had a bigger off caused by ABS, let's say. With the driver braking on the curbing and ABS kicking in. I think Dennis Heinz might not be running too high of an ABS setting, actually. Because I've seen him locking up the front right completely going down into turn 1.
He can be quite slidey coming out of corners as well, so I wonder if he's turned both of those down, the ABS and the TC down quite a lot. Whoa. Is he some fairly hefty slide there? But
well, since I misjudged it last time, I won't sit here and say, oh, the tires are going down. He's just having the lap of his life at the moment. And I mean, he has 15 seconds to spare to Dominic Ladler through the final sector. So he's allowed to have some fun with the car.
That's true.
I think in real life it wouldn't be appreciated as much by the team, seeing as how much certain components of the car cost that get stressed by such things. Probably most of us could buy a car from what a drive shaft costs for such a GT3R. But he comes around the final turn. Dennis Heinz finds victory lane once more with a big drift, celebrating, braking to make sure to not cross the line too early. And giving us the Tim Schroeder flash to finish it off. Dennis Heinz winning round 4. 4 in a row as well. And Dominic Lalder salvaging what's left. Minimizing the points he lost to Dennis Heinz and having a great battle with this man, Pascal Jordan, who's finishing out the podium. Stafowski already in the finish. But yeah, what a start to the race it has been, and then what a comeback drive from Dominik Lada as well. Could have all been much worse in pretty much every way.
Some good celebratory donuts going on now.
But what would you take out of this race for the next round at Road Atlanta? I mean, it's a
I'd
very
take out
different track.
That I need to buy a new microphone.
That is a very fair point.
Yeah, I mean, it's Road Atlanta, so you're never really sure what's going to happen. I think it's going to be an interesting one, and it's going to be down to the consistency of the drivers, which has always been a strong point for Dominik Ladler. So hopefully you can make something back.
I mean, we shall see about that. We shouldn't jinx it before the race has started, I guess. Not like last time we visited Road Atlanta.
First wear off, he'll be fine.
He will be fine. But Bahar Massa comes across the line to finish in 6th. And yeah, that was the race for today. Next week, the racing will go on with week 43 and the next RCE inline, as well as the Founders League into round 3, as we've mentioned before. And you can see it on screen now. The GT4 series is returning at Nürburgring. So yeah, I think for those GT fans out there, quite some races to go to. 911 Cup, GT3, GT4, all fairly popular. So yeah, I'd say we hope that you enjoyed today's show. I certainly did.
For the amount of it that I caught, I enjoyed it.
That's a very fair point. We hope your ears will recover from the audio incident before. I mean, in all fairness, the IMSA IndyCar race, or IMSA Indy race, that was from, I think, 6-7 weeks ago. They had like sudden heavy metal in the stream from some camera, so that was also quite interesting. However, we see you all next time around when we go racing in the Green Hell once more with the Praga. And until then, have a great time and goodbye.
Goodbye.